Now we're exploring Ghanaian women, and of course, we are looking at beautiful ways to make Ghana a better place for women, especially. And well, there are lots of women in Ghana outside the world, but we always have some particular women a lot of us look up to. And when it comes to what we want to be, we're always looking at them. Madame Lucy Quest is the CEO of Airtel, and she has so much to tell us because, well, she is the CEO, and I'm sure most of us look up to her.
We all need it. You know, be poorly. You know, be poorly. Breath of fresh air like Colgate. Colgate. Hey, yo, you are all I want. So I never go do you no wrong. With you, I know I've won. So come and I tell you something.
Hi.
Hello, Doreen. How are you today?
I am great and honored to be interviewing you today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right. So, well, as part of International Women's Day, well, we're looking at it this way. What are some of the setbacks women face in our Ghanaian society today?
Well, I think that over many probably generations, we've come to a relatively rigid mindset around what women are capable of. It's not just a Ghanaian issue, it's a global issue, but in our context, what happens in Ghana is what's most important to us. We fix our own country first. And so we've decided roles for women, which sometimes can limit their ability to realize their potential. You know, so it's very easy for a woman to be told that she can't go into a job because it's seen as a predominantly male job. It's seen as it's not the kind of job that will be amenable to all the things that society expects her to do. And, you know, case in point is myself, where I not only studied engineering, but worked as an engineer. So I've had my fair share of people wondering, why would you bother with engineering? But the truth is that when you have the potential is not gender specific. Potential is based on your talents as a human being and what you're capable of. And I think as we celebrate International Women's Day, we need to celebrate the fact that we have a beautiful country where we have women as well as men of great potential, and we should encourage them despite what we know societally. We should drive a new mindset that says we want our women to be all that they can be.
But you as a person, I mean, you have lived outside and you've lived in Ghana. You've worked both there outside and in Ghana too. How did you overcome some of these challenges? I'm sure you probably had that challenge where somebody would say, I don't think you can make it, or maybe you should just take it up to this level and then continue from there. How were you able to overcome it?
I think growing up as a young person, young child, I was very fortunate right from the beginning that I had the absolute full support of my dad. In fact, I sometimes have to rephrase it and say it's not even support. It was what he made normal. I believe in normality impacting our lives and our futures heavily. And my dad never gave me a sense of what was a woman's role versus a man's role. His view was, do whatever you want to do. And particularly when it came to engineering, because he was an engineer, he was always very keen for me to participate in what he was doing. Equally, my mother was always about have big dreams, want great things in your future. You know, think up what is not visible and possible around people now and hope for it. So that gave me a very strong foundation going into the world, where then I came across people who, a few held similar views as my parents, but of course there were many who felt that I shouldn't go ahead with engineering. I think that in Ghana, it's more about being a woman and not being seen as a role, that ambition being seen as the role of a woman. When you're outside of Ghana, then in addition to your gender, sometimes in some circumstances, your race plays a role as well. It's about giving our children that strong foundation of self-belief and confidence, which is what I believe I got, so that regardless of the circumstance this young woman finds herself in, she will have the strength to pursue her dreams.
Thank you. Sakura. Ride with me. Yeah. Listen close. Na 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 na. Yeah, frame me brain ya. Yeah. You be my answer, no question. Having you by my side means no stressing. For your love, you go see a hard man begging.
When it comes to women of your levels, being a CEO, what are some of the challenges you face as a person, and how similar is it to other women on your level?
I think being in charge of a company or all of it, from a professional point of view, the number one challenge you face is that you have to have the versatility, the breadth and the depth as a corporate person, from your skills, your knowledge, your flexibility, your adaptability point of view, to manage so many different things at the same time. Because remember, as a CEO, if there's something going on in marketing, I'm part of it. If there's something going on in sales, I'm part of it. If there's a regulatory issue, I'm in there. If there's a network issue, I'm in there. So you kind of really have to be able to go right across and into issues. And I think that anyone who's thinking of becoming a CEO, male or female actually, needs to be willing to be able to have this real stretch of their capacity and their ability as a professional. Specifically, as a woman, some of the challenges around, we've spoken about expectations of some people about what women can do. For me, I believe that other people's bias is really not my problem. I don't need to plan or behave based on other people's bias. But then there are real challenges that you have to juggle. You know, I have young children at home. Well, some of them don't think they're young any longer, especially the one who's as tall as I am. So you have children growing up, you have a family, you have a husband, you have relatives who depend on you. And sometimes that juggling act can be challenging. People like to focus on this phrase about whether as women professionals we can have it all. I think the definition of all probably is fundamentally flawed. We have to allow women to define what their all is. In my case, of course, I want a family, I want a job, I want children, I want everything. I want all those things to work. But to make it work, you have to make some compromises.
You be my blessing. We all need it. You know be poorly. You know be poorly. Breath of fresh air like Colgate. Colgate. Hey, yo, you are all I want. So I never go do you no wrong. With you, I know I've won. Yeah. So come and I tell you something.
These days, men will always say that I am the head of the family, so leave that to me. You are the wife. You are supposed to be at home, but at the end of the day, you're working. So perhaps you can, as a woman, you don't really want to push more to get whatever you want in life or in terms of your dreams or achievements. So being in that society where we find ourselves this way, how are we going to handle it?
Okay. I hear you on societal norms and expectations, and it's a topic I address a lot when I meet a lot of young women. You know, life has to be driven purposefully, right? We have to live our lives purpose. Whatever amount of time we have, there has to be a purpose for it. And in living out purposefully, we have to associate with people who are willing to help us achieve those purposes that we think we live for, right? And so that life partner that you're referring to, who may have a certain view from a societal point of view, it's due to societal influences, has to be aligned with our thinking. There's no point making a lifetime's commitment to somebody who thinks in a completely divergent way from you. You have to have similar thinking, because you're giving an example of what it means to have a husband based on some of our societal norms. But don't forget that a lot of these, majority of married people end up having children, whether it's their own or adopted or whatever form they have. And there'll be boys and girls. So the norms that you are living throughout your home are the norms that you're teaching these children as well. So are you saying that you're happy for your wife to not realize her potential as an example for your daughter? So the question becomes, it's a choice. Some women genuinely want to be, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's about women being able to make their choices and being supported through their choices.
Lesson number 1, faith. Have
have lots of faith and lots to spare. Lesson number 2, dream. My mother always encouraged me to dream. Dream very big dreams. Have fun. Have so much fun. And make sure you're having it with the people that you care the most about. Greater purpose. I feel as though when I do business and I think of a greater purpose or business being good for people and how it actually impacts people's lives, profits are great. Greater purpose is even more amazing. Lesson number 5, laugh. Laugh a lot. It makes us more successful. Let laughter make life lighter.
Just to wrap up, I'm sure you have a lot of advice for us young women out there, those who are now coming up, those who are looking up to you. And so I would just like you to give us that advice and how we can make Ghana a better place or the world for all of us.
To the young women, I see that they really need to listen to their inner voices. If you allow yourself the opportunity to calmly tune in to that frequency, you'll, over time, learn what your life is about, because every life is about something different for each person, but something relevant for the world. Every person, every one of them is a gift to the world, a gift to Ghana and a gift to the world. I want them to focus on being all of that gift. Many of them meet me and they're very kind to me, and they applaud and they say, you know, well done, and how they look up to me. I always say to them 2 things: that I hope that my example is an example of a shoulder that they can stand on to stand taller. I want them to achieve more than I could possibly achieve in my lifetime. The other thing I say to them is that, you know, at the moment, we see a few women relatively go to the heights of career success, and we call them trailblazers. I get called that a lot. And I say to them, I want you all to make these highways, that it's not about a trail that's being created by 1, 2, 3 or a few women. It's about, you know, a lot of women achieving together. It's one of the reasons why we started the Executive Women's Network with other women CEOs in Ghana, to really say that we don't want it to just be about the few who have achieved it today. We want the future to be about, this is normal, that when a Ghanaian woman, you know, stands up or sits up and says, I want to be the CEO of a large corporation, we look at her and say, well done. You're following the path of many who have gone before you. You're going to have to make those corporations much bigger than those who before you achieved. That's what this is about. Let's hold hands. Let's work together this International Women's Day and beyond to create that strength, that beautiful, great country that we know is possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
All right.